Then I feel like these are a little bit deeper questions, not necessarily deeper in the sense that it will take longer to answer, but maybe just something that I feel as though you have to look into your heart to answer. But so the next question would be, how would you respond to a person who comes up to you and claims that God is not real?
How do you respond to someone who says God is not real? Well, it seems to me that children, little children, we are all born with a sense of God. And it is only later experience that leads people to deny God. Atheism, in its pure sense, I suggest, is unnatural. It is a psychological reaction against, for example, people who claim to believe in God but are hypocrites, hypocrisy of the church, and things like that. My own way of dealing with atheism is not to go the path of apologetics. In our age, it is very popular to say, oh, you don't believe God's real. Let me give you a link on YouTube and you will see this wonderful evidence. Well, I don't go that way. I don't believe in apologetics because I don't think you have to apologize for God. I believe that the belief in God is in every human heart. There is a hole in every human heart. There is a gap in every human heart that only God will fill. And it is only human pride and reaction against people who represent God that leads to that gap being denied. So people who say God is not real are people in denial. It's not that they need evidence. It's not that, oh, I watched this video on YouTube, oh yeah, now I believe. No. There is no per se physical evidence for God, or else faith would not be faith. Hebrews 11 is very clear that faith is not based on that which is visible. And that includes what is visible on YouTube or visible on the internet. I'm not a believer in that. I think that everybody has that obvious belief in God. But they are in denial, and people very often have not separated church from God. Of course, we all know atheists, and the atheists that I know, which are quite a few, nearly all got to that position through a bad experience of church. And their view is, well, if God is like that, I know a Christian who does this, that, or the other. Yeah, sure you do. And sure, the guy may be a hypocrite. Sure, he may be a fake guy and a bad guy. And so he is. But that says nothing about the existence of God. Absolutely says nothing about whether God exists. People say, well, I don't believe in God because of all the suffering in the world. If there's a God, why doesn't he do something about it? No. What that means is that you don't like the way God, as you see it, behaves. And it is part of being human and being the children of God to struggle with your Heavenly Father. Because what child does not struggle with their parent? That is normal. That is part of relationship. That is normal. But the fact you claim you don't like what God does, well, that says nothing about whether God exists or not. It says more about you. And I think that it all comes down to humility. That people don't want to accept that there might be a God or there is a God, because that's got a huge claim on you. If actually, as you know in the little boy or little girl inside you, that I am God's child, that I was made in the image of God, well, I have a responsibility to him. I am his child. I have a duty. I am not alone in this world. I am not master of myself to do just exactly what I fancy doing. No, I'm not. So, well, we all want to do that. We all want to do just whatever I want to do. Okay, so the convenient thing to do is to say, and so there is no God. So that is my comment on so-called atheism, that, come on, you're not an atheist. There cannot be a pure atheist. You have to be an agnostic, because you can never prove that there is not a God. You can prove there is a God, but you can never prove that there is no God.
Mm.
Do me an experiment, please, that shows me there is no God. You can't. You absolutely can't do it. So therefore, anyone who says, I'm a total pure atheist, well, you know, what was your psychological history, my friend? What do you mean you're a pure atheist? There's no such thing. You've got to be an agnostic at best, because you can't prove to me there's no God. I can't prove to you in black and white, you know, that there is a God, and I don't have to, because you know it in
Mm.
your heart, in your little boy, in your little child's mind inside you. You know that there's a God. And I think their psychological response to our claim that there is a God, it really says it all, that very often they get very angry and very
Mm.
defensive. If you tell somebody, you know what, I believe in a big white elephant that lives up in the sky, people say, "Oh, you know, I don't believe in that," and there's, you know, laugh it off. But if you say to somebody, look here, you say you're an atheist, and I'm telling you there is a God, and you in your heart know there is, the guy gets defensive. Oh, well, how dare you talk to me like that? Why do you need to be so defensive, my friend? You wouldn't be so defensive if I told you there's a big white elephant up there,
Yeah.
just up there. They say, you know, check your meds. I know, mate.
Yeah, there's definitely some good points there. Is especially the thing with the church. A lot of people in my life also, they say that they don't believe in God because they belong to this church and they went to this church and this is what this church did and they didn't enjoy it. They didn't enjoy the church, so they don't believe in God, and that just, it doesn't make any sense in my head. And also the hatred thing, is I often come across these funny pictures, memes as they're called, on the internet, where it says that you hate God but you don't believe in him. It's, you see that a lot. People are so stressed about God and so defensive against God and even hateful towards God, but at the same time they say God doesn't exist. Why are you upset then?